Sharks. The word alone invites shivers in many. A fin splitting the water while you're swimming is of concern. But despite how terrifying they might seem, these creatures are critical to the survival of the world's oceans. Our Ben Tracy spoke with a group of their protectors.
Here in the Bahamas, reef sharks are one of the most common sharks that we see.
Candace Fields took us to Danger Reef in the Bahamas to see this. Waters teeming with reef sharks. As top predators, they're critical to keeping the balance of fish populations in check so coral reef ecosystems can thrive.
They're kind of the kings of the coral reef, right? They're keeping the reef in a nice harmonious balance.
Fields is part of a global shark census called FinPrint. In 2018, it found the 5 main species of reef sharks had declined 63% and were functionally extinct on 20% of the reefs, largely due to overfishing. But they're thriving here inside what is called a Marine Protected Area, or MPA.
You can't come in here and fish for anything. You can't take a thing.
Absolutely. It's complete protection. All right, let's check the camera.
We watched as Fields deployed an underwater camera to help count the sharks. Her data is part of a new study to see if MPAs help threatened marine life recover. There are more than 18,000 MPAs covering about 8% of the world's oceans, part of a United Nations effort to protect 30% of the oceans by 2030.
So we're on our way to look for people fishing.
Yes, sir.
But enforcement is key. We rode along with the Royal Bahamas Defense Force on patrol.
Stop the vessel.
It has seized dozens of boats.
They had 46 persons on board.
Fining and jailing fishermen and confiscating their often massive illegal catch.
Either we chase them away or we catch them, and we've been having huge success doing this.
So when it comes to enforcement, you guys are the muscle.
Yes.
These vessels have entered into the Bahamian waters.
Part of the brains of the operation is Skylight, a system that helps track the bad guys using a mix of AI and satellite vessel tracking data.
So we're using this technology to help focus those patrol efforts.
It's something that I think will have a big impact on shark conservation in the future.
Hopefully helping the kings of the reef rebound.
And Ben Tracy joins me now in the studio for this. Ben, why are the oceans so important to our Earth?
I mean, it seems like a basic question,
Yes,
right?
I
I mean,
feel
we
like an
think of
idiot
like the
asking it.
rainforest
Yeah,
being
right.
the lungs of the planet, but really scientists say it is the oceans. The oceans are the lungs of the Earth, and they're really what keeps us alive. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, oceans generate 50% of the oxygen on the planet. That means they're responsible for every other breath that we take. Now, you might remember learning about photosynthesis in school. It works the same way in the ocean. Little plants called plankton absorb some of the carbon dioxide released by marine animals living in the ocean and from the atmosphere. The plants then release oxygen back out, and that's literally every other breath you're taking.
I fell in love with that lungs of the Earth way of putting it. So help me understand how the oceans help mitigate with climate change.
Yeah, I mean, they are our greatest ally when it comes to the fight against climate change. And the reason for that is that the oceans have absorbed more than 30% of the carbon dioxide that humans have created by burning fossil fuels since the start of the industrial age, and that's according to NOAA as well. In fact, oceans hold 60 times more CO2 than the atmosphere does. More than 90% of the excess heat created by global warming in the past 50 years has been absorbed by the oceans. So basically, without oceans playing that role, UN researchers say that the Earth would have warmed 97 degrees between 1955 and 2010. And I think you know what that means. You and I would not be sitting here.
No, yes. So now that we've gotten everybody to be tender and loving towards their oceans, what's being done to make sure this condition either stays the same or gets better?
Yeah, so this whole idea of marine protected areas is a pretty effective way, they think, to protect parts of the ocean. But, you know, what can all of us do? I mean, most of us aren't on the ocean to any great degree in any part of our day. But there are things you can do. I mean, buying non-toxic chemicals and cleaning supplies, because almost everything we put down the drain ends up in the ocean at some point. Buy less plastic, because our plastic is, rapidly polluting the ocean. And then, also make sure when you go shopping at the grocery store, you buy sustainable seafood. And if they don't have the little sign there at the counter, ask the guy behind the counter and ask him which one is the most sustainable of the options.
taking efforts not to pollute the lungs.
I like that you're
love it.
taking
No,
notes
I
there.
know. I don't want to hurt the lungs. Ben Tracy, thank you so much.
Thanks, John.